The year was 2000, the start of a new millennium.
And the year New York got a Subway World Series that saw the Yankees beat the Mets.
It was the year that Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston said, "I do."
And it was the year a presidential election was too close to call, and we were all introduced to the words hanging chads.
All right, and 25 years ago in 2000, this is what we were watching on the news then.
Well, it may seem like digital music has always been here, but it was just 25 years ago that the MP3 was introduced to the world, bringing music into the internet age.
It's the hottest thing on the internet. You know, the buzzword in the early 80s and 90s was, I want my MTV. Now it's, I want my MP3. The digital revolution isn't just changing the way we get information or go shopping. The internet is also changing the face of the music industry. In today's Robin Logs On, we're talking about the new Y2K buzzword, MP3. MP3, it's a digital format for downloading near CD quality music off the internet, and it is the latest craze music fans are tuning into.
One of those really exciting new areas that have helped to drive computer sales, because people, see other people, downloading and carrying this really small gadget around, and it's a great way to listen to music.
It allows you to compress songs and allows you to very easily move them across the web. You can email them to a friend. You can save them on a website. You can save them on your hard drive.
And there are also MP3 players, which could eventually take the place of your portable CD or cassette player. But this new form of technology is sparking controversy in the recording industry.
The recording industry has had problems with MP3 because it's not encrypted.
And according to the experts, many unsigned bands are benefiting from the use of MP3 because it enables them to get their music out there and to a global audience. Now, in case you don't want to listen to your MP3 CD-like quality music on your internet, there are a host of MP3 players out there, which is basically music stored on RAM chips on spinning disk, and they run anywhere from $179 to about $300, so they're certainly going to take their place alongside the Walkman, if not replace them one day.
What happened to the radio? Remember the Y2K scare when it was thought computers would fail as we went from the year 1999 to 2000? Well, you may have avoided being hit by the millennium bug, but the same cannot be said about some spy satellites.
It appears that Y2K didn't turn over quite as smoothly as we first thought. Apparently, there's a case of Spy 2K. The Chicago Tribune reports that U.S. spy satellites were practically blinded by the Y2K computer bug for almost 3 days. The Pentagon denies it and says the trouble lasted just a few hours. Either way, there were no emergencies during the outage.
In 2000, all eyes were on Australia as the Summer Olympics went down under.
In Australia, the 2000 Summer Olympic Games have begun. Athletes from 200 countries marched in the opening ceremonies. Here's Martin Savage.
They are pumped up down under. After 7 years of waiting, the people of Sydney are ready for the Games to begin. The arrival of the Olympic flame has helped relight the fire of excitement in this city of about 4 million. Its 100-day journey round Australia covered a record 16,875 miles, using 11,000 torchbearers. Sports fans wait daily for tickets that range in price from $650 for opening ceremonies to $17 for the women's field hockey. Many bought them online, but they hadn't counted on standing in line to pick them up.
3 hours and another hour to go.
You've got to wait 3 hours in the queue to pick them up. It's called organisation.
Even so, over 1 million Olympic tickets remain unsold. At Homebush Bay, home to most of the Olympic venues, the Olympic Village, built on a former toxic waste site, is already housing most of the more than 11,000 athletes participating in the Games. Nearby stands the Olympic Stadium, completed almost a year before the Games. Stadium Australia, site of the opening and closing ceremonies, is the largest ever built for an Olympics, with 110,000 seats. Not everything's going smoothly. Organizers are having a hard time getting the Olympic buses to run on time. Some of the drivers for the 3,500 buses are threatening to walk off the job over working and housing conditions. Still, local organizers say the problems are nothing compared to the transportation headaches of Atlanta in 1996. Thousands of police officers, as well as the Australian military, are in place to provide security. At times, their training exercises have the look of a James Bond movie.
As I said earlier, there's no guarantees at all that we got 100% security, but we've done certainly the best as humanly possible.
Police will not only be guarding the athletes, but also a host of royalty and dignitaries, among them President Clinton's daughter Chelsea, who arrived with the U.S. delegation. Watching over it all will be 20,000 members of the media, helping to broadcast over 3,000 hours of Olympic coverage to nearly 3.7 billion potential viewers. Some grumble the spectacle is more like something with 3 rings rather than 5. Circus or not, for the next 2 weeks, many Australians hope it will be the greatest show on earth.
The election between Bush and Gore was a close call with a recount that introduced us all to the words hanging chads and resulted in Bush being declared the winner.
Well, you know, you can only imagine all the political types who were on their cell phones all night trying to figure out the election and how things got so fouled up in Florida. So it was suddenly going for Mr. Gore, then Mr. Bush, then too close to call. Christopher Jones takes a look.
How did it happen? How did we go from being told first that Al Gore had won in Florida?
We call Florida in the Al Gore column.
Only to be informed a little bit later that Florida was not Gore's, but was too close to call.
Stand by, stand by. What the networks give us, the networks taketh away.
And then we stayed up most of the night until Bush was declared winner in Florida and our next president.
George Walker Bush, the 43rd president of the United States, a young man.
Only to wake up a few hours later to learn it must have been a dream, that in fact Bush could not be declared a winner, that Florida was again too close to call.
Whew, what a night.
You can start by blaming cost-saving consolidation, with every major broadcasting network, including Fox, relying on one major exit polling service. It wasn't so surprising they all projected and retracted as one.
There used to be exit polls done on a much more haphazard basis. As the process has become more scientific and more expensive, there's a pressure towards centralization of the process, and as a result, they try to economize by getting it all done in one fell swoop. The problem is that if one gets it wrong, they all get it wrong.
And as they try to work out the mess in Florida and tell us who our next president will be, how does the head of New York's Board of Elections, which has had its own share of problems, feel about it?
They say in every tragedy is good. Am I glad I'm not running Florida?
Well, no one's sure exactly what went wrong last night or whether there was any lasting damage to the electoral process. But there is some comfort in knowing that not all the experts, not all the computers can tell you how you're going to vote until you do. Christopher Jones, Fox 5 News.
The Palm Beach County Governmental Center has become the center of the political universe as the recount that may determine who becomes the next president of the United States plods slowly along. Media people are at least able to see the manual recount process through windows as county election workers examine ballots from 4 precincts that represent 1% of the 462,000 votes cast in Palm Beach County on Election Day. Republican observers and Democratic observers bicker occasionally. The county judge who's in charge of the recount told one election worker, "I'm losing it, I tell you." The man who doesn't want to lose this election through the manual recount, Governor George Bush, is watching from his ranch in Crawford, Texas.
We've counted once, and we recounted in Florida, or that everybody recounted. And we fully recognize there are some ballots outstanding from overseas, and the people ought to be included in the process. And it seems like to us that once those ballots are counted, we'll be able to determine who the president will be.
Al Gore stayed inside the vice presidential residence in Washington, meeting with his campaign chairman, William Daley, and former Secretary of State Warren Christopher, Gore's top recount observer. He defends the Democratic request for a manual count of the Florida ballots.
When doubts have arisen, the hand count is seen as the best way to ascertain the true views of the voters.
Former Secretary of State James Baker says the Bush campaign will ask a federal court for an injunction to stop the hand count and stick with the mechanical tally.
Machines are neither Republicans nor Democrats, and therefore can be neither consciously nor unconsciously biased.
In the Palm Beach County recount room, the process began with workers doing the so-called sunshine test, holding up disputed ballots to see if the voting device marked the ballot. But this evening they had to start all over again. Now they'll look to see how much of the perforated punch-out called chads made by the voting machine are still attached to each ballot.
If one of the four corners of the chad is detached, then that will be a vote.
This hand count of 1% of the votes cast here in Palm Beach County will last well past midnight. Depending on the result, a hand count of all more than 400,000 votes cast in Palm Beach County may be needed. On Monday, the Republican request for an injunction will be heard in federal court in Miami. In West Palm Beach, Florida, Bob O'Brien, Fox 5 News.
And here are a few more stories that captured our attention 25 years ago.
The year began with all that Y2K hype, the millennium ad nauseum.
Dawn of a new era.
I just couldn't wait until it was all over and so we could get back to our usual, miserable lives.
And talk about miserable, a former go-go dancer sued her plastic surgeon for putting breast implants in her butt. She was awarded $30,000 from silicone to silly putty. Silly putty turned 50 in the year 2000. Even sillier than putty, the fad of gluing money on your nails.
Oh my God.
One bill covers 10 fingers. We covered plenty of odd products this past year. It's a popcorn fork.
Oh.
Bon appetit.
Oh, what is this?
Electronic gaydar. If a gay person comes within 50 feet of you, both your gaydars go off.
Oh my dog.
Whoop, whoop. Oh my dog is a scent intended to be worn by both dog and owner. It's turned out to be one of the top-selling fragrances at Saks. At the dog run, we rubbed it on Timbo, and in no time, another dog couldn't keep his paws off. And for kids, there's green ketchup. Heinz says it's been a smash. Goes great with green eggs and ham. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. Pretty funny, huh? The year 2000 was the year of Survivor.
Hey, what did they survive anyway, themselves?
But Survivor wasn't the year's only contest, but the most unusual contest was the one for president in Florida. What do you think they ought to do down there to fix the mess?
They should get out of the sun. I think they have a sunstroke down there.
From the presidential contest to the $1 million roach contest, 350 bar-coded roaches were released nationwide. But the one worth $1 million avoided capture. Several books captured our attention. For instance, a book about holes.
Half of a hole or a whole hole?
And another called Who's Who in Hell.
Oh my God, these are all non-believers?
The author of Off the Eaten Path made believers out of us. He swore he could poach salmon in a dishwasher.
Perfectly cooked. Damn fine if I say so myself.
That's what some said about Sports Illustrated's 3D swimsuit edition.
Wow. It's a piece of junk.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Did you get the message? Piece of junk.
And that was the news then.